Well, Danny, thank you so much for spending a bit of time with me. I really appreciate it. We've seen firsthand today what a busy schedule you've got. So thank you so much for sitting down. Nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you too, and it's great to be able to speak. I hear your voice every Sunday morning. My daughter Isabella is an avid follower, so she's always.
We should be watching.
Yeah, I'm sure she will watch this now as a consequence. But it's it's a pleasure to speak to you.
And you. And it's been a busy day for you. I know you got stuff going on tonight, so I won't keep you for too long. I mentioned, you haven't got a league game this weekend. I know we're off somewhere that is to be revealed at a later date this weekend. What's the week been like? Is it any different to when you'd normally have a League One game, or is it pretty similar preparation-wise?
No, I think it's been a slightly different week for us. We would have obviously liked to have been able to play Bolton this weekend. That would have been that definitely would have been what we'd have liked to have done. It was unfortunately taken out of our hands, and we obviously have 5 that are on international duty, but we still felt that we were in a position to play the game, and in the good moment that we're in, we would have liked to, but it was absolutely Bolton's prerogative to postpone the game. So it's meant that it's given us some time for reflection, I think, to reflect on the start that we've had, to kind of look at look at our performance both in possession and against the ball, kind of try to prioritise tactically where we can get some gains in this period, and we've worked. The boys have trained well. I think the attitude and work ethic has been good. We have a game that I think you've alluded to already tomorrow, which will be good for some of the boys that are maybe a bit short of game time, and we'll all travel as a squad to do that, because I always think it's nice that we've had a pretty settled starting 11 in recent weeks, and obviously the rest of the squad have been supporting those 11, and now you get to these kind of squad games and it kind of flips, and the boys that haven't had so much game time will play, and the boys that are in the starting 11 will go and support the boys that played, and I think that is important for the spirit and the togetherness of the group.
So you mentioned just there that kind of, I think you said it a couple of weeks ago, this is the end of the beginning for you. I think that was sort of building up to the Plymouth game. How would you assess it, and how do you reflect? I know you've had a bit of time to reflect on it this week.
Yeah, well, it's been busy. I'm kind of looking at the year.
If you can't see it, you've got a nice calendar on the wall there.
Yeah, no. So when you consider that we started out on the 20th of June, and obviously we had a preparation week going into that, and it's pre-season is always a brilliant time as a football manager, because you just get that opportunity to really kind of embed the principles of the way that you want to play, and also kind of create the values and the behaviours that hopefully are gonna help the team as the season unfolds. So that's always a really busy time, and then obviously the season starts, and particularly this year is quite unique because obviously it's the World Cup happening in the middle of the season, so the games are front loaded, so it's been busy, and of course as a squad we really only came together maybe at the end of July, so kind of the last sort of 10 days of pre-season really. So I think to start as well as we have done and accumulate the points that we have has been great. Credit to the players, just the way that they've come together off the pitch, but also built the relationships and partnerships on the pitch, and kind of wholeheartedly gone about their work, trained as relentlessly as they have, and it's enabled us to kind of develop the game understanding and develop the principles that's allowed us to play with the consistency that we've had. So that's been really good, but still, always lots to work on and lots to improve. And we've really been able to use this time to look at where we're at and look at where we think we can try to find some further gains.
You mentioned pre-season and how that started, feels like a lifetime ago, I'm sure for you, but I was out there in Spain with you, came to visit you, it was great, and we had the open training sessions and we saw firsthand how relentless that was. How great is it to see how that's paid off in terms of the last couple of weeks, and not just the fitness wise, but also the team building and stuff like that, and how that's really progressed on into the season? Yeah,
I think we're pleased. We certainly have worked really hard physically. The way that we want to play the game, it's a running game really, the one that we play. So we need the players to be in peak condition physically, and certainly as a group we're in a better place this year than probably we were last year. I think we're more robust as a group. We have a good good spirit. I think our senior players are really good professionals, and they kind of set the standards for the younger players. Kind of we change the narrative with our recruitment really to try to go away from maybe historically this football club signing players that can cope with the pressures of playing at Fratton Park and playing for Portsmouth, to trying to sign players that are ambitious enough to want to play for the club, and that's seen us really have, you know, we've got 12 players now that are 21 years and under, and those with the senior players has given us just a nice blend really. And I think when you've got a really good group, a really professional group, and just a group that are humble enough to want to get better every day, you kind of get to a place where firstly you just enjoy coming to work, and then also on the training pitch you can push this group probably further than we could in the previous group that we had, because there's such a motivation from them to just want to improve and want to get better. We don't have any energy sappers, anybody taking the energy away from the group, and when you don't have any whingers and moaners, then you can keep pushing the group, and certainly physically we've benefited from that. And yeah, for us tactically, like I said, we come together quite late, so there's still quite a lot of improvements we can make. But I think when you look at the squad that we have, I look at a mentality and know that I can rest easy, knowing that we won't come up short in that area.
A lot of the conversation that we've had with viewers of the channel and friends and family who are all Pompey fans, by the way, as I'm sure you can imagine, they've been saying how far we've come in the last year or so. And I think you mentioned it after the Burton game, how you had sat in that dressing room and you said, it was a really humbling loss that a year ago, and I remember being there, and then a great win on the road. And I suppose even, you know, the character shown to come from behind against Peterborough, and then the importance of getting that late one against Plymouth. How important is that moving forward to keep that relentlessness, keep the character and the grit and determination that you always talk about?
Yeah, I think, I've been lucky enough to be involved in a number of successful teams, and they've always had similar traits. I think good senior professionals, a togetherness and a spirit, but enough grit and determination and resilience to overcome all of the kind of challenges that you have during a football season. And yeah, you have to be able to win games in all different ways, and it's a given that when you play well that you're going to win. It's more about the other games where maybe you're not at your peak level. Can you find a way to win? Maybe you go behind in a game. Can you come back and can you win? Can you score? Can you win games late on?
Like Plymouth for the weekend, for example.
Yeah, I think that was it was important to keep our unbeaten run going. And you look at that Plymouth game, for example. There was a period that we played as well as we have done all season. I thought our transition first half, our attacking transition was really, really good. We created a lot of chances, probably weren't ruthless enough. Then probably from 45 to 70, we had really good control in the game, but we didn't quite take the game away from Plymouth, and I thought that was probably a criticism of us on the day. And then of course they score from nowhere, and then the momentum swings, and then they are on top. And I think they, in that kind of 10-minute period between 70 and 80, create 3 chances, score twice.
It's a crazy 15 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was like being punched on the chin twice, and you're on the canvas, and you have to decide then, don't you, what you stand for. And I thought as a club, not just the 11 on the pitch, but I just thought as a club, the supporters on the terraces, we all kind of come together in that moment, and showed the fortitude that you need to. And ultimately we found a way, and we got the point. We scored in the 94th minute, and probably the bit that I liked most from the game was that we come in afterwards, and you're almost expecting still to have that feeling of jubilation when you score late and the crowd are up, but the boys were like pretty despondent and down and frustrated.
Feeling like a loss?
Yeah, almost that we hadn't got value for our good play, and that we'd done so many good things in the game, but we lost control for a small period against a good team, and we ended up drawing the game. But it's always, I think you're always looking to try to manage the emotion in the dressing room after, and it's always particularly challenging when the emotion's been high in a game, and particularly when there's late emotion like there was in the Plymouth game. But yeah, I didn't mind it. I quite liked the fact that the boys were frustrated and a little bit disappointed because, yeah, I just think that kind of tells me about the standards that they have, and yeah, that certainly bodes well for what is to come.
You mentioned it there. Another key role that was played was in the crowd against Plymouth, and
yeah.
I don't know if it's the new South Stand where everyone's right behind you now instead of maybe being down in the dips or whatever, but we've seen already the response to the relentless football has been fantastic, and that's obviously down to yourselves and the players. How important are the crowd in that moment? I think you mentioned it when we went 1-0 down to Peterborough. That was the moment when they were the loudest. Yeah. So how important is that moving forward this season?
Incredibly. I think the stadium looks brilliant, doesn't it? And it's great because Fratton is just a special place to play football. And I'm a football romantic, so I love the old stadiums. I love the thought of families being able to come to a game and know that the dads bring their children, but and their granddads are there, and you can kind of see different generations of families all together. But knowing that their granddads, who maybe are not with us anymore, would have come to the game as a young person, and
so magical, isn't it?
Yeah, there's something about football and family that makes me. I love the old grounds. Sometimes I don't know, these new grounds are so corporate, aren't they? And they're like 5-star hotels, and I don't know, they just lack a bit of soul for me.
Not Fratton Park.
Not Fratton. Fratton is special, and yeah, the supporters, we've worked really hard to try to create a connection, and because our ambition's always been to try to create a team that the people of Portsmouth can be proud of and can associate with and connect with, and Nicky always says it, they celebrate a tackle like they celebrate a goal, so you kind of know what you need to do. It's really simple in terms of because it's our job to create a team that the Portsmouth people are proud of. That's what I see our job as. And so we've known what we needed to do, and probably in our previous roles, like I can remember my first season at Concord Rangers, we managed to win a treble that year, and then even at Braintree, we finished third in the division, which was the highest that club has ever finished in its history. And Lincoln, we got promoted and had that FA Cup run. So I've been able to go into previous clubs and have an instant impact, really, and we've been able to have pretty good success. And then at Huddersfield, it was different because we took the club mid-season, and of course we managed to stay up, which was great. And then, we only really had a January window and wasn't afforded any more time. And then we come to Portsmouth and we know exactly what we need to do, but we didn't quite have the flexibility that we would have liked to initially, so we kind of had to navigate through a difficult period, and it's probably the most difficult period that I've had as a manager, because you know what you want to do and you just can't quite get there.
Was that when you initially got here?
Yeah, right. Probably pretty much that. Yeah, last year we knew when we come out of that window that it was going to be quite tough. Because we just weren't able to do quite what we wanted to do in the key areas of the pitch. We kind of had problems at the top end, and yeah, we knew that this was going to be tough. And you kind of almost, to a certain degree, you have to navigate through it and batten down the hatches, and it's horrible because you so much want success for the club, and you can feel the whole club is hurting and and you kind of feel that pain. I don't want to say more than anyone else, but as much as anyone else, and it lives with you, the feeling of, I don't know, kind of like you're letting people down. It's a horrible feeling, like you're just not quite getting to where you want to go, and you just have to stay really resilient. You have to keep working, and you have to trust that you'll get through this period through just kind of hard work, really. And we knew that if we could maybe see a brighter tomorrow. And yeah, it was good to get to the summer and to be able to do what we did. Like, again, the window was always crazy. It's never easy, a transfer window. And I think that the biggest challenge for us is we knew we would have to trade and maybe lose one of our key players. And in Marcus, obviously double figures in goals and assists. We were kind of going to lose a key player, and we were going to try to lose a key player but still get better. And that was kind of the challenge, which I suppose makes you a bit nervous, because it's much easier. Well, it's much easier to get better by adding to what you've already got
than trading.
But I think it was really important for the owners, because the owners have been brilliant. You know, you've got to think they'd invested heavily in John Marquez and Ellis Harrison, and they hadn't seen anything back from those trades. And then it was important that that Marcus going into last year, he wasn't going to sign a new contract here, so we made that decision, and then for the owners to allow us to then be able to use that money to invest in Colby and the rest of the squad has been great, and it's allowed us to get to a position where I think we've got a group now, a nice blend, senior players, young players, everybody that has a feeling for Portsmouth, and this is like for me. It's just such a privilege because it's such a unique club and it's such a wonderful club, and there's so many people that it means so much to. And I was having a conversation just like Owen Dale and Tom Lowry and Colby Bishop. They're all players that have come from smaller clubs, and how privileged they feel to be here and to play in front of a crowd that is so passionate, really, and that has such a feeling. And for me, I know for us to achieve what we want to achieve, then it's never going to be about 11 players. It's always going to be like a whole club, a whole city effort. And it needs everybody to, like, our definer is our supporters. There's no doubt. There's no crowd. I don't believe there's a support in the country, in the world, that can influence a game like the Portsmouth supporters. And we know that we really need them. And that's like, everyone needs, what does the successful team, everyone needs a really good number one. Everyone needs a 20 goal a season number 9. But you need a support that can influence and turn those tight games in your favour, and as people say, like the Fratton end, suck the ball into the goal. It definitely helps every now and again.
I wanted to ask you about ambition and how that might have changed, because you mentioned how it was, I don't want to quote you exactly, but you mentioned how it was tough initially when you got here, seeing yourselves through that window and then the difficult season. How are you feeling right now in the moment and the ambition for the rest of the season? We're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We always try not to on Fournilwrittenalloverit. That might be why Isabella's such a fan, but we try our best not to. But it's 6 wins, 3 draws. It's all going to plan. How's the ambition looking right now in the moment?
Well, I think our ambition is pretty simple. It's to keep trying to improve and get better. I like the ambition. It sounds really boring, but I like the ambition of winning on a Saturday, waking up on a Sunday with the ambition of trying to win on the next Saturday, and keeping sort of relentlessly focused in that way. I think as a team, we know that there's a lot of big clubs in this level. There's not a club in this country, like I said, I don't think we can that we can't compete with in the terraces. That is for sure. But there are some big clubs with real high quality squads and real depth in their squads, and I think we want to be a team that can beat the best teams, and that's what we're trying to be. And we know that for us to achieve what we want to achieve, we've got to outwork, outfight and outrun our opponents. That is an absolute prerequisite for us. So we know that nothing's going to come easy for this group, and we're going to have to fight for everything, and we're going to have to try to overachieve to do what we want to do for this club, and to do what the fans want us to do, and that's what we're going to try to do.
I know it's never about individuals, but I mean the way that Joe Rafferty and the way that the fans have taken to him. I know you've mentioned he's got the song that he's got, and he went away, now he's back, one of our own Marlon Pack or Colby Bishop's Magic Hat, and the list goes on. But I want to speak to you specifically about Owen Dale and how impressed you might have been with him, because he was someone that I picked out that I've been so impressed with, and we mentioned Marcus Harness and the void that might have left. But I mean, Owen Dale, how impressed have you been with him?
Yeah, I think Owen's done a really good job. He's got such an energy, and he's spiky. He's got an edge to his game, and everyone will obviously see his attacking transition, the way he takes. We go from defence to attack with him. I think he's been really unlucky not to have created more goals. He's put some fantastic crosses into the box, which probably have led to clear-cut chances that we haven't quite taken. The bit for me is the other transition, actually, when we go from attack and we lose it and then try to win it back. He's got this unbelievable reactive quality on the counter press, and him and Dane give us this kind of fizz and edge and intensity to our game, which I know is something. I don't like the player that loses the ball, makes a mistake, blames the teammate, moans at the ref, goes down on his haunches. And I like the player that maybe when they do lose the ball, they have this reactive quality to try to win it straight back. And yeah, they're the kind of all-action players that we like. And I think that that Owen epitomises that really. And
so many of them have that quality. I could have asked you about any one of them, couldn't
I?
Yeah.
Oh well, it's been really good. You know, like I said, we kind of knew that the profile of number 9 that we wanted, and we knew that there wasn't many of them, so we knew we had to try to create finance to be able to buy a number 9 that would fit our profile for the team to play in the way that we wanted it to. And yeah, that meant selling Marcus, but we knew that even though Marcus was a really good player for us, we knew that probably there was other profiles of players that we could sign on loan that would allow us to replace Marcus, and then we'd be able to use that money in maybe another area where there wasn't that same availability of player. And I think when we look back last year, our home form was good in the division last year, but it was our away form that held us back, and we lost too many games by 1 goal that we should have drawn, and we probably drew too many games away from home that we should have won. And when you go back and you try to kind of pick the bones out of it, there was a lot of games where we had really good places in the match and we lose the ball in our own half and concede a goal. I can remember at Wigan early on.
Yep.
I can remember Sunderland. And it was probably because we didn't have a forward we could play into and up to. And sometimes when you're away from home and a team's suffocating you with their pressure, you just need to be able to get them off of you by going over or into a number 9 that can really look after the ball for you. And because we didn't have that, we probably had to take too much risk sometimes away from home, and then we would get turned over and we'd lose it and they would score, and then it becomes more difficult away from home. Whereas this year we know that in that moment we can get the opponent off of us, and then Colby does it so well, and then he almost occupies players, and then that allows us the chance to then get the space to get the control and rhythm that we need to in the build phase, and it gives us just a better balance than what we had previously.
And just finally, the social media went crazy after Burton Albion away, after the famous Nicky Cowley fist bump to the crowd. If and when we beat Ipswich at Portsmouth Road, can we expect to synchronise Cowley brothers 1, 2, 3 to the away end? Or
I don't think it's anything that's particularly planned from us. It's just kind of in the moment,
just
really.
Happens, yeah.
There's no better feeling than when you've worked really hard in preparation for a game, and then it comes together and you win. And I think more than anything, as a manager, you when you see the players work really hard and get the rewards that they deserve, it's a really good feeling. And you kind of, in that moment of elation, you do some crazy things. But and our supporters are just brilliant, and it's just important for us to be able to share that moment with them. Really, it's like,
is it a bit of a give back perhaps to the travelling support?
Thanking them, wow, like last week we had guys come over, a Norwegian supporters group come over last week and come and spend some time with us at the training ground. Away from home, our supporters travel up and down the country, and when you live on the south coast, every journey's a long one. Let me tell you.
It's always an overnight, isn't it?
Everything's an overnight for us, yeah, it is. But for the supporters, after a hard day's work, particularly like midweek, I always feel so connected. I always, like, when I come out for away games, I'm always kind of just, I don't know, I just look for the people, I just look for the same faces, and you always see the same supporters, and it's always, just to share that moment with them, really, because you feel like, wow, their level of investment, because you know, and I've lived it, having been a semi-professional footballer and then a part-time manager, the amount of times I would have to travel with my team on a Tuesday night. I'd get home at 11 o'clock, get up for work, and I'd be so tired. Yeah. And I always wake up on a Wednesday morning thinking about our supporters, and then like outside they must be at work. And just appreciative of it. Yeah. So for us, really, I just think we just want to give a bit back, really, and just spend some time to thank them for their support, and then just send them our love, I suppose.
So we'll see on the fist bumps at Portman Road. We'll see. I have to leave that one up in the air. Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And you've actually spoken about it there. I wasn't wanting to say this on camera because we said it off camera earlier on, but we spoke on a Zoom call. I don't know if you remember it, about a year ago. Or it's a bit longer than a year now, because it would have been before the Fleetwood away game, I think.
Yes.
Just before you travelled up, and you said you want to give the people of Portsmouth a team that they can be proud to be associated with, and you've said it there, and I think you've more than done that. And I'd speak for every Pompey fan and everyone I speak to and friends and family behind the camera. They say how much they've fallen in love with this group and have really reinvested in their football club. So to you and the players, a massive thank you.
Oh, we really appreciate that. Thanks.
Put it there.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Nice to see you.